Hello, welcome back to another episode of our podcast. Today I have a special guest. He is a dating coach and he is transforming the landscape with his compatibility tool, the Circus Question. So when we first connected, he asked me if I could be anyone in the circus, who would I be? My answer was the trapeze artist. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that means about compatibility, what people I should be looking to connect with, and who I should be staying away from, because both of those things are so important. We're going to talk about the landscape of modern dating, some of the challenges and red flags to look out for, and how each of us are helping to empower singles with the knowledge, information, practices, and tools that they need to have a better experience with dating, because I know it can be hard and complicated, but there is so much joy to be had in finding real love that is healthy with somebody that you are compatible with. Andreas has a diverse background. He's worked in architecture, radio, DJing, project management, and really he is on a mission to help reshape the understanding of love and dating and compatibility. His approach empowers people to navigate dating with confidence while adding an element of creativity and fun. So I am so excited to be talking with Andreas today. Hey, how are you feeling today?
Thank you, Whitney. Very pleased to be with you. It's a pleasure.
Awesome.
It's cold in England. I'm in London, if anyone wants to know.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, it's cold in New York City today too. I've got my double sweaters on. So tell us a little bit about what brought you into this field. Where did you see the need for what you've created?
Okay, well, I've always been interested in psychology and I've always been interested in relationships, but I took a left field curveball entry into the marketplace because, as you said, I'm a creative. I started with architecture, I'm an architectural background, photography, DJing, music. I've done all those things. I've enjoyed them. I traveled the world, but I've always been interested in how we connect and why we connect, how you can be totally in love with a person. And then within a time frame, it could be 2 months, 6 months, 6 years, 7 year itch, you are totally out of love with that person. And I've been there myself. I've been married, engaged, divorced. I've done it. I've done the rounds. I hated the statistic. And when it finally happened to me, I was determined to get to the bottom of why I wasn't living the fairy tale. At 22, when I first got engaged, I thought this was it. I've met the one. That wasn't to be. So by the age of 47, after a 13-year relationship, I found myself on the dating pile. No kids, no partner. And I was very depressed. And I was back on the pile thinking, I've got to date now. And I've got to find a partner that can appreciate who I am. And basically, I'm older than what I was. So I had my reasons to think, well, this is going to be hard. And it was even harder because when I went to date, going to bars and clubs was difficult because the age, I was 47. I found myself on the dating sites and wow, that was different because I was no longer communicating with people one on one, face to face, which I was used to, especially as a DJ as well. I was used to communicating with people live. So there I was on dating sites, loads of choice, completely overwhelmed. I thought, wow, some lovely looking ladies here. And I wanted someone, wanted kids because I didn't have any, was young enough to have kids, but also was into a bit of an older guy, had been around a bit, wasn't exactly a sugar daddy, yeah, because I couldn't buy the relationship. I'd lost my business, a multi-million-pound business. I had a club promotions business, traveling the world, etc. So I was content in myself, but not where I was. So I entered the dating sites. I found myself dating with the "Hi, how are you?" and not getting many responses. The hard bit was connecting. But when I got the replies back, I was finding that the person didn't match the pictures and the bio didn't match the person that I was talking to. It was a bit strange. So I thought, God, this is hard. how do I start a conversation where I can actually filter the person? Because I was getting 20 matches a day, which is good, really, apparently. It was very good, apparently. I'm with clients, I've realized that is actually good. So I decided I've got to create a question that is an opener, but is equally going to filter people so that I get the response I desire. Circus question. Because I devised the circus question on the basis of which environment has lots of different dynamics that are so varied, I can tap into the dynamic that I want. So I asked myself the question, if I was a circus act, which would I be? Because I was consciously choosing, I was the ringmaster. Now, the ringmaster runs the show, totally controls things, but they nurture people to be the best they can be. So the ringmaster says, okay, strong man, go and do your thing. Okay, trapeze, go and do your thing. Clowns, go and do your thing. And they announce them and they get on with it. And that's the kind of relationship I wanted. I wanted a partner that could stand alone, be a star, but it would equally listen to me because I like control. Unfortunately, it's one of my traits. I like to be the man, masculine control, but not abusive. And it worked because I started asking the question directly and then I changed it. And the version that's out now is the correct version and it works. I can guarantee you 95% you will get people that say, oh my God, I can't believe this works. You will get the odd one that says, no, it doesn't. Well, they're in that 5%, which we can toss aside because if it doesn't work, they're not going to be a match. Anyway, I will ask you and I'll ask your viewers as well the question so they can connect with it. The actual question is, imagine you're at a circus. Imagine the lights, the sounds, the smells, the fun, the laughter, the thrills, and the suspense. Now imagine if you were one of the acts or performers. Which act or performer would you be? And now the reason there's two parts to the question is the first part is conscious location. In the world of NLP, we don't want to lead somebody, but we also want to create a vision that they can then lock into with the second part in their unconscious. So the unconscious selection occurs in the second part of the question. The beauty of that is we then unlock the truth. People make the mistake, and I did. When you ask a direct question, what act would you be in a circus? The conscious kicks in. What can I physically do? And if you're scared of heights, you're never going to pick trapeze. If you're scared of heights or you're scared of lions or animals, you're never going to say, I'm a lion tamer, are you? So these kind of things are what we need to avoid. So it has to be a two-part question. The why part is important. And I don't remember if we had the why part from you. You said trapeze, didn't you? Did you say trapeze and trapeze flyer?
No. But when I started looking in your app at the different answers and what they mean, I saw that there were three types of trapeze, one being the solo independent, one being the catcher or the ground, and the other being the flyer, the partner. When I was looking at the translations, it made a lot more sense to be the flyer, the partner. We'll get into talking a bit more about the masculine and feminine energies and polarity, but that definitely is a factor for me. I'm very feminine. I like a masculine partner. I like that partnership, that support. So that was interesting. The why is floating and the flying through the air.
The why is quite good because what it does, if you're talking to someone live or if you're texting them, the choice, the role is important, but the why validates that choice because it connects it. Because if you just say flying trapeze, I can then guess, well, I don't know, maybe you are a trapeze artist. Maybe it is something you've trained. Maybe you just like the sparkly costume. Maybe there could be a number of reasons and it will connect you back. Because I had a client say, elephant rider. And when I explained it, obviously she was blown away because the first thing she said to me was, wow, that's me. That's me. And when I explained what she needed in a relationship, the elephant, which could complete you, because the act isn't solo. Elephant rider, elephant. That's the combined act that makes it unique. Flying trapeze, flying trapeze catcher. So you've got the trapeze catcher and the flyer, the person that catches you when you let go. Lion tamer, lion. Clown, audience. That's the important one. audience. The clowns like to be the star. Clowns are never in a relationship. They conflict. They fight each other in the show. They're pushing each other over. They're hungry for the audience's approval, which is what a clown does. So in relationship terms, the analogy works because you take the act, you complete the act, for example, clown and audience, and the clown needs audience. So when you're dating, if I'm a clown, I'm looking for audience spectators. They're my perfect match. And because we have a numbering system, a numerical score for each act, which is in the app, it's in the second part of the app. So when you download the app, unless you pay for the app, you get the first section, which helps you answer your question. And the second part does all the analysis for you in respect of dating. So it helps you with the numerical score. And the numerical score we want is a 10. So if you're a lion tamer, you're a 9. And if you're a lion, you're a 1. You put them together, they're a 10. That's perfect. The perfect 10. Now, if you meet someone that's a ticket seller and they're a 2, I'm just using the number 2, and you're a 9, you're a lion, that doesn't make it impossible to date them because you're still just over the 10. So you've got it's a spectrum, and you've got an area that you can work with. It's the same with you. If you were single and you were flying trapeze, your obvious perfect match would be the flying trapeze catcher or the anchor who's going to be there for you when you let go. But in reality, a ring master would work with you because you're a 4.5. I'm a 7. So that would make us 11.5. It's not terrible, but a lion tamer wouldn't work because the lion tamer would want to control you like the lion. So he'd say to you, Whitney, I want you to do this, this, and this. And you'd be like, hang on a minute, that's my independence going out the window. And I'm not having that. I want you to be the masculine when I need you to be.
But
Emotionally,
let me
physically, whatever.
fly.
Absolutely. Let me fly. Let me be free. Because you should be able to trust me. And a lion tamer will not trust a trapeze that wants to fly and let themselves go and be all over the place and go out in whatever she wants to wear and hang with the girls and not be told you're not wearing that short skirt. Because that's when it gets abusive. And we've all been there where we've been in a relationship where it doesn't flow. The new relationship energy when you meet someone is deceptive. It's like the interview. You've met them, they look great in their outfit, they come to work and they can't do the job. Yeah, they can't do the job. And eventually it fails because as you get to know the person, you see the red flags, you think, blimey, why did I date this person? It's not necessarily the smelly socks or the slippers in the wrong place at home, because those sort of things, you compromise some of that and people pick up and learn things. But the grounding of dynamics is important because we're talking about power dynamics and the masculine feminine essence that we all have. So our power dynamic, you talked about it earlier, our power dynamic, the extreme power dynamic on a spectrum is a lion tamer. He's the most control. And the lion is the least control. They want to be led or directed. In order to function, the lion needs direction. But they work symbiotically and perfectly within the show by being able to listen and direct, okay? And both need that. So the lion tamer needs the kind of gender-wise, it doesn't have to be masculine or feminine, by the way. This is why I coach gay men, lesbians. It doesn't matter, because you could be a gay man who's a lion tamer and a gay man that's the lion. In their terms, top and bottom, okay? The simplify top and bottom.
Yep.
In the BDSM world, dominant, submissive. It's the same. Whatever label you give it, that's your dynamic, and that works for them. It doesn't work for all of us. In your dynamic, it's a very equal dynamic, a shared dynamic where you need a partner who talks to you about choices, talks to you about the direction you're going in, discusses it with you, shares the workload, maybe shares the parenting, maybe shares careers, maybe all the things that you need to let you shine. Your partner has to compromise to some extent. The lion tamer won't compromise. It's do it my way or the highway. Some people are happy with that. In the old days, we used to say that she's a doormat. She's only a doormat if she's not consenting to it. If she's consenting and happy, who are we to judge? The reality, you wouldn't be that doormat, correct?
Correct.
But if you've
So,
got a lion tamer who's trying to put you in that position, it's definitely going to implode. The whole point of the app is to help people identify their ideal partner, potential partner, but equally, as you said quite correctly, if you're dating and you're trapeze flyer, you have to avoid the top end of the scale and the extreme bottom end of the scale because you need the perfect 10. So you need a 6.5, a 5.5, a 7. You need that area. Someone that's just a bit more than you in masculine essence, because as we go up the scale, the numbers 1 to 9, the masculine essence grows. As we come back, the feminine essence grows. If you're in the middle, you're able to do what you're doing, be your own boss, but tap into your feminine when you want to and tap into masculine when you want to. But you don't want to be extreme either way.
yeah. So I just want to take a minute to acknowledge how important this is in this modern dating culture where we're so used to going online, looking at a few pictures and a couple of sentences at most, and making a decision about whether someone is compatible. It's so off. It doesn't make sense because what it's doing is it's ranking people on a scale of good to bad. And
It's
so when you
almost
see
objectifying.
someone, yeah, when you see someone that you think is attractive and has money or whatever, successful, like you're just looking at this arbitrary scale. And just there's a reason why women are selecting the top 10% of guys and the rest of them are often ignored. And for the women, it's like they're only looking at attractiveness. And we know now that attractiveness is not the best indicator of compatibility. And especially in this superficial realm where you haven't even seen the person in person, you haven't felt their energy. So I love so much about this. The opener, because hey, how are you has been proven by a Hinge study to be the least responded to opener. And that's what most people are doing. Hey, how are you? I'm good. How are you? What are you doing? Making dinner. What are you
Yeah.
making? Spaghetti.
I
Same old
suggest,
boring conversation over and over again.
I suggest if you go online, this is how you open. I've got an interesting question to ask you. And if that's the first 4 or 5 words that you see in that inbox, you're immediately looking at it, aren't you? I've got an
Yes.
interesting question to ask you that I'd love to know your answer to. And I'm curious because when you tell me, I'll tell you mine. It's that I show you mine if I show you. Who's going to deny that?
Yeah.
Especially if you fancy the person, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because look, the key is attraction number one. That's your first compatibility. If you don't fancy the person, then why are you on a dating site talking to that person? Anyway, so you've opened the question. I'm curious to know your answer, and I'll tell you mine. And then you hit them
Yep.
with, imagine you're at a circus, word for word. If it's not word for word, you run the risk of not getting the truth from the answer. And what's the point in rushing it or getting it wrong, and it failing and you coming back and going, damn, I asked the direct question, what would you be in a circus? And the person said, well, I wouldn't be anything because I don't like circuses. But the reality is, in their imagination, they could be anything. And by the way, I get a lot of spectators. You're given 53 odd choices because that's how many is in my list of A to Z. Because for every opposite, for every one, there's an opposite. So, for example, lion tamer, lion. By the way, if someone says tiger trainer in my app, just go for lion tamer because I can't have every single big cat trainer, Black Panther. I've had them before.
Yeah.
You say, look, generic lion tamer, lion, and that counts for tiger and whatever. Anyway,
Have
so
Have you read the book Life of Pi?
I haven't read it, no, but I know about it.
It's one of my favorites.
Okay.
I've listened to the audiobook probably 8 times through and I love it so much. And there's a whole section where he talks about the lion tamer and
Okay.
how it reflects in our spirituality and our belief in God and all of those things. So might be fun for you as you're doing this.
So, as I was saying, you open it up and immediately because you know who you are, you know what your choice is. The beauty is the other person responds and you know immediately with the app or with your chart or whatever you've got in front of you, you know whether it's a direct hit or not. Because if you know that they're a potentially good match, because don't forget, there's a lot more than just the foundation of compatibility. There's values, there's ethics, there's morals, there's political party. If that is your big thing, that's in your filtering. But this is a filter that is the foundation that you can grow on.
So from a practical standpoint, if you're opening with someone in a dating app or you're meeting them in person, you can ask them this question, and you kind of have to have the knowledge already and have done the research and know what your type is and what type you're looking for. But you can also just use your app, and I'm going to include the link to your app as well to the question. And there's a multiple choice. So with that, somebody has a choice to look through them all and pick the one that's the best fit, and then it will take them to the description, right?
If I can show you quickly,
What is your app called?
it's called the Circus Question.
Okay.
There
And
you have there you have the front page. Click on the logo when you get there. Introduction. Then you have the video with my question. Purely,
Imagine you're at a circus.
there you go.
Imagine the lights.
Okay, so there's no visual connection other than the words. That's very important because we don't want to lead. In NLP, if you lead someone, then you're suggesting that they kind of pick that. And we don't want to. We just want to leave it blank. So these are the choices.
I just want to clarify too, NLP, neuro linguistic programming. This is a type of coaching for those that may not be familiar with the acronym.
You're absolutely right. Yes. So with that, we don't want to suggest, for example, with a picture of a lion tamer behind me, and that visually makes you think of a lion tamer, and then you say, oh, a lion tamer. In your case, we said trapeze flying jumper. Okay. There you go. You have to go to submit. Right. Trapeze flying jumper. You've got a score of 4.5. These are your positive traits in a balanced relationship. In other words, when you're with the ideal partner. So you're agile, trustworthy, adventurous, energetic, courageous, resilient, collaborative. In a dysfunctional, toxic relationship, these are the traits that come out for your personality, and you don't want. You're a secure, balanced in a balanced relationship, and when it's dysfunctional, you become anxious. And then there's a conclusion. So if you go back, and this is the page before explaining what you do. There's a survey. You see reviews, people that have used the question. These are emails, most of them, replying back and quite amazing, etc. So really what we've got is a system that people can use. Stop sharing now. There we are. So really it's quite straightforward. It explains the masculine feminine essence, where you lie, and explains the power dynamic that you are in. In other words, that you require to be in this relationship. In other words, why you lead, why you want to be led, and why you require that. So it's a little bit deeper. And then we have the Circology framework, which is the diagram on a polarity axis with all the numbering systems. So you can have a quick look at that and go, oh, that's where I am. Because we use the perfect 10 numbering system, it's very quick. It's not as difficult. You know, if you know you shouldn't be dating a clown, the moment someone says clown, then you just say, thank you very much, but goodbye. Simple as that. You don't need to be an expert. I mean, one of the things that I'm offering people, dating coaches, and that is a certification in this in the future. So I will teach them how the whole framework works so they can offer it to their clients. And the same with matchmakers. It's something we're visiting now with a license, so they can add it to their compatibility system instead of just asking Myers-Briggs or DISC or whichever system, the big five that they use. They can add this as one question because, as you well know, matchmakers have clients, one, and a whole lot of other people that they dip into, a pool of people that could be suitable. And that pool could be hundreds, if not thousands. So if you know your client's choice, you then go to the hundreds of others and you already know their choice on your database, and you can filter those very quickly, whether they want 6 foot, brown hair, brown eyes, that's relevant, but so is the compatibility that we're talking about. Yeah. So that's where we're going with this. Hopefully, you know, the app is still beta testing and the content is evolving all the time. There's a lot of graphics, photos, pictures, videos. There's a community, the Circology community, where you can ask me questions or the team. And do you know what? I'm loving the fact that I'm helping people because that's really the main thing here, helping people with meaningful connections. And when Tinder and Match Group statement is they want to create meaningful connections, it resonates with me, but they need to do their part to do that. They don't, they really do. Just letting people swipe and swipe and swipe is not enough.
Yeah. And I think Hinge has said that they want to be the dating app that is meant or designed to be deleted.
No.
But the reality is they want to make money. They want to keep people on there. So it's helpful to have these additional
Whitney, I make a
resources.
point of being on the dating apps because I need to recommend them to clients. And there's a new app in the UK called Hattie, Hati, and it's a London board app. And again, it's no swiping. You see people you might like. You want to talk to them. The app allows you to be set up with a conversation for 5 minutes. It allows you to connect with somebody in the real world and have a video conversation with them for a maximum of 5 minutes. You then finish the conversation. You then go back into the app and say, I want to see this person again, or I don't want to see this person. If you don't match, you never see that person again. If you say, I want to meet, then they give you, I think, another half an hour where you can have a deeper conversation and then arrange a meeting.
Yeah. Dating apps, Match has been around for more than 25 years, maybe 30 years. And
I mean, they're great. The dating apps are fantastic.
yes, but we need to add in some vulnerability and honesty and depth. And that's one of the things that you and I really resonated on was I so appreciate you bringing this depth and thoughtfulness into an industry that has so much potential to include vulnerability and real connection, but it's lost its way a bit, or just the users have lost touch with it. But it is so important to really connect with people, to have those conversations. I'm partnering with a couple of apps here in the States, Gather Social Dating and Jigsaw. They are a dating app, but they do events. So you go to an event, you meet all the single people in person. It's so important to be able to feel their energy and see what they look like in person, and just it adds so much more than
I mean, Whitney, the truth is, this is the bottom line. Not everyone can afford a matchmaker. Let's be honest. Not everyone can afford a coach, even though they probably need one. So unless you're reading about it and self-educating, and a lot of people don't understand the value of that, but they are learning. I've got a book out. I've had 2 Amazon bestsellers in the last 4 months. Collaborations with other coaches. The Coaching Corner was the book out 3 weeks ago. 20 coaches got together, wrote a chapter each. I wrote a chapter and it became a bestseller. It was in the hot sellers. We were one in front of Bill Gates. So people are hungry for the knowledge. And when it comes to dating, the dating apps need to do more. They're trying to do a lot. But the thing is, their model is to earn money. My model is to make connections. I hopefully will earn money from making more connections, and therefore people will buy my app and buy my work, and I will make some money. But I'm one person. I haven't got stakeholders that I need to make money for. And if I ever license to a dating site or someone, I do it on the proviso that it's front of house. You are helping people. You're not hiding behind a wall. You're not doing what Hinge do. Only show me the people that match with me behind a paywall. Because you know what? You need to give me a rose before I'm worthy. That really is demeaning. I'm sorry, Hinge, but doing that has really upset a lot of people, myself included, because I can't say to my clients now, go to Hinge. I used to. When I was a dating coach, who would you recommend? I'd say Hinge. 100% Hinge. Match is okay. Your harmony's okay. And for this reason, that reason, for your age, for who you are. Now I can't honestly recommend one that I feel comfortable with from the match group because they're just about money. And also they're not vetting these bogus profiles. There's too many stooges. I mean, when I was dating 15 years ago, I knew full well that the person behind the picture was not real.
Oh yeah. And then there's all these guys that are overseas in the army or on an oil rig.
When I was about to cancel my subscription or it was about to renew because I paid, I would all of a sudden get an inbox that doubled to keep me on there. So I mean, come on,
Hinge has this
come on, man.
algorithm where in the first 4 days of your profile they categorize you and they play with you. they
Of
they give
course.
you all these good matches at first, and then they make it barren to make you think, oh, I better pay for it because I'm not getting great matches anymore. And they just, yeah, it's
Well, it's the slot machine, isn't it? It's the slot machine. Just as when you're about to lose, and it figures out that you're probably just getting a bit frustrated, you're banging on the machine, it pays you out something. So
yeah,
it fixes your dopamine hit for a bit, and you
yeah.
think, oh, I can win. And then it lets you win quite a lot. And then you put it all back in.
And I like to remind people that online dating is not dating. It's not. It's just a way to meet people that you could potentially date.
I met my wife on online dating.
But you didn't date her online. You met her and then you got to be
Yes,
dating. So
absolutely.
it's a way to meet people, and it can be a great way to meet people, but we need to get off the app and get on the phone and get in person and go deeper with something like the Circus Question that gets us thinking and gets us thinking about our compatibility and what you want, because people in the dating pool are not just good or bad, dateable, not dateable. There are so many different flavors and variations. I love that this is helping people find what their flavor is and who they should be dating, and get out of black and white, good, bad, judgmental mentality that swipe culture has
Well,
created.
this is the other thing. It's not one size fits all. Just because you're masculine, it doesn't mean you need to be male. You don't need to be masculine. You can be feminine in your demeanor and meet a masculine woman. When I say masculine, masculine in her energy, as I said, lion tamer, the lion tamer could be a woman. Doesn't necessarily follow that it's a man. And I could be a lion, and you're my perfect guidance because you will direct me. You won't abuse me. Remember, we're not talking about abuse here. Just the lion tamer with a whip is a visual connection. Once it becomes abusive, you've got to step away. Okay, let's be
Agreed.
clear. And one of the choices, by the way, in the app is circus activist, because some people, and quite a few, do say, "I'm not going to answer this question. I'm totally against circuses." And they have a type of partner who is more liberal, who is fights for their rights, is probably into climate change, is probably into values that are much deeper to them. You know
Yep.
what I mean, don't you?
Yep. Oh, yeah. It's all about shared values. That's what compatibility really comes down to, isn't it? A shared vision for the future.
The beauty of it, Whitney, is we need something that's simple, is non-evasive. In other words, you learn enough, but the person doesn't feel like they're being interrogated.
Yeah.
That's the key. And do you know what? With compatibility, there's compatibility, communication, and compromise. I'm not coaching here, but that's my thing. Yeah. And I know you do this.
Oh, yeah.
Compatibility, communication, and then you compromise. Too many people compromise first. They're so desperate to seduce the person on the other end of the app or the phone or the picture that they'll be whatever they want them to be. And the reality is you've got to stop doing that, ladies or men. You've got to stop doing that. You've got to be yourself, be vulnerable, be authentic, but don't compromise, be selfish, find out who they are, and then become selfless. That's the only time you compromise. When the little things like the toothpaste lid or the seat up on the toilet or the Velcro wallet, get him a leather wallet.
Yeah. Those are not the big compatibility deal breakers, people.
I'm not going to lie, they're funny. I do love Logan Uri's work, by the way, and a great book. I think it's Don't Die Lonely or Don't Die.
How to Not Die Alone.
Yeah, something like that.
She also hosted a show recently, The Later Daters, which is great.
She's brilliant. She's amazing, right? I'm not going to diss her, but she brings up the Velcro wallet, and of course it's so funny. But if that is potentially your life partner, as a woman, you turn around and go, "Listen, I love the fact that you got this wallet that you had when you were at college, but listen, I bought you a lovely present. There's a leather one. It'll be better for you. It'll look better for your image." You date the potential that you need, not what you want. If I said I could give you any car for free right now, what would you choose? So if I ask a masculine guy, the lion tamer commando style guy, he'll either give me something that's totally beyond them, Ferrari or Lamborghini or the top end of a Hummer or something. But if I then give you the caveat, Whitney, the car you have that I've given you for free, can you afford to insure it? Can you afford to maintain it? Can you afford to have it outside your home? And if you were to say to me, well, Ferrari, that would be really awkward because you might not be able to afford the Ferrari, you might not be able to afford the insurance, and you might not be happy to have it outside your home because it might get vandalized in the area you live. So when you're maintaining a relationship, it's the same analogy. It's a good analogy because it shows you that most men who are in their masculine will immediately pick what they can't have. And on a dating site, they will often look at the hottest, fittest female. It's a primal instinct, by the way. It's not their fault. I've done it. You give me a choice. I'm going to pick fit. I'm not going to pick ugly. Excuse me. I'm not going to pick the ugly one that I think is ugly. I'm going to be almost, like we said, objectifying the image of the person and thinking, I fancy her. I want her, no matter what. But the reality is we have to pull back and go, am I right for her? And is she right for me? This is the question we need to ask ourselves. So the circus question identifies that, but that's the reality. When we then start talking to that person and we discuss values, we discuss whether we want to have kids, whether we want to live in the same part of the country. 9 times out of 10, they're on the other side of town. They might not want to move to your part of town. When you're having that kind of discussion, even moving country, you've got to have that early, haven't you? You watch these dating shows and they match these people dating in the dark or, all these Love is Blind or whatever they call these shows. At the end of the day, one of the big problems is kids, right? Do you want to have kids? Which they don't really address very early. And do you want to relocate? Well, if you've got a successful career here and I've got a successful career here and you're not having that discussion and you're thinking about putting a ring on the finger, you're crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
People are scared to have that discussion because they're worried that if I say, would you relocate for me? They think they're proposing. You're not proposing. All I'm saying is, if we get on, would you come to me or would I come to you? And if neither's going to go or give, it's never going to happen. Cut and run.
And there's so many people trying to fit that square peg into the round hole.
That's exactly it.
In relationships that are not on the same path, that are not compatible, and it's this scarcity mindset. So yet another reason that it's so helpful to have dating coaches to show you and help you understand that it's not as limited as you think. There are so many people, but the problem is you don't know how to find that real compatibility. You're just looking for, who's the best? Who's the best? I just want the best.
You want to impress your peers, your friends. And the reality is your friends would be more impressed if you bring someone to the table who's actually more compatible with you on a dynamic that is a foundation to grow on. If the compatibility is good, they're the ones saying to you, wow, you really match well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a client recently, they went to a restaurant, the baby thing where you're pregnant and you don't want to find out. She was like that. She said, I had my babies and I didn't want to know, and I don't want to know what he is until we get to the restaurant. And I said, okay, when you get to the restaurant, ask him the question. Please don't date blind. Ask him the question. She did. Within 5 minutes, she was on the phone to me in the ladies' room. And she said to me, Jesus Christ, he's a clown. And I said, okay, well, that's not suitable. You're trapeze solo. You've got to run. But you've created this date now. You've got to be respectful. Yeah, don't run off with tummy ache. You're going to sit down and have this meal. But what I want you to do now is learn the lesson. She finished the meal. Thank you very much. Got an Uber, went home, immediately called me and said, you were spot on. And she said, I will never do that again. Because as much as he paid for my meal, he expected something from it. Because he said, right, we're going for a drink afterwards, aren't we? And she said, no, I don't think so. I've got an early start in the morning. She made her excuse. I've got an early start in the morning. I need to get home. She wanted to cut and run. He was like, oh, well, you're letting me down and I feel bad now and I've brought you out. And so he started pouring the emotions out to her, which is the control that the clown does. The lion tamer controls kind of physically, Like, I'm the strong man. I'm going to guide you. I'm going to be your security, keep you safe, which is fine if you want that. But the clown is an emotional control. They want to be loved. So they'll make you laugh, they'll make you happy, they'll give you what you need, but they want a lot of love in return. Hence, the clown's ideal partner is audience. They want to be on a pedestal and adored. And when she wasn't giving that back to him, he was starting to get abusive. But not verbally abusive, but that she could see the control was coming out. And one tip I say as well, if you're on the app, don't put on your profile, I'm a ringmaster, I'm a trapeze, I'm a clown. Or don't tell people what you are. Because if you tell people what you are, when the app gets popular, they'll just go into the app and look at what matches clown. She's hot, she's clown, because I've done my homework. But if I don't know what you are, which is the key here, am I going to guess what you want? And by giving this app to women predominantly, I'm not saying you're a guy and you can't have it, but women like this app because it gives them control. Okay, that's the key here. You're taking control of your dating, who you date and who you don't. And if you want to test it out like this lady did, go on a date with a guy or test it out online with a video call. And by the questions you can ask, you've got the app and you can test it out. You know, if we were on a date, would you order food for me? In your case, if the guy says, absolutely, I would, you, Whitney, would want to have your own autonomy. You need to look at the menu and decide for yourself. You don't want a man controlling what you want, what you wear, what you drink. Correct? So that's a big red flag. And that's when you go, I got to run. As much as I like this guy. And of course, it works for casual and formal relationships. It works if you're a couple. Two of my clients are therapists and they work with couples. I don't work with couples. I don't do therapy. Okay. I'm an educator. I'm not certified to do that. And I let the people that know what they're doing do it. So I coach them or mentor them with the Circus Question and the Circology framework. And then they apply it to their clients in couples therapy. So they know what one client is and they know what the other client is. And if they've got a lion tamer and a trapeze, there's obviously a dysfunction there. There's an imbalance. But they're able to say, look, Mr. Lion Tamer, you need this from your partner and she needs this from your partner. So if you're going to stay together, you need to compromise. So by putting this down in black and white and showing people on paper, literally, where you are, you're able to then compromise in the relationship to make it work, which is exactly what a therapist does. But normally they can't show you it in an analogy. Look, I go to parties and the first thing the host does is drag me over to a couple and they say, Andreas, go on, ask them the question. These are my friends. Ask them the question. I'm saying, no, you're making me, I'm the performing monkey here. And they go, and I say, look, I'm really sorry, but they're asking me to ask a question so that I can identify your compatibility. And they say, oh, we've been married 15 years and you don't need to. And I say, okay. And the host says, no, go and ask them. And invariably, I will ask them the question, embarrassingly, because I'm thinking, please answer compatibly. Otherwise, I'm going to break this relationship. And invariably, they answer something that works. It's balanced for them, whether it's imbalanced or whether it's balanced. It works for them. And the dynamic is that good that I can then explain it. And they go, yes, 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 yes. Thank you very much. You've just affirmed where we are. Or that's why that person is like the way they are. Conflict resolution in a relationship is key, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing how to navigate conflict in your relationship. I have got the perfect relationship for me. We conflict all the time. Why? Because we're both strong people. I'm a ringmaster. My wife is trapeze solo stroke contortionist. The reason she picked two, fair amount of people pick two. A lot of men pick two. More, 3/4 more men pick two, by the way, than women. It's a fact because they're growing into that personality. They're evolving. Men take longer to grow. Women will say, I know what I want in my life and I know the kind of guy I want. Men tend to be stuck in that, I'm not sure yet. They settle down older because they're not sure yet. And that's the evolution bit. Okay. So she said trapeze solo, but actually this is where I am right now. And I said, that's exactly what you've just explained. You're a contortionist. You need to trust someone implicitly before you'll come out of that shape, which is the contortionist, getting into that tight space. And she said, I will only trust a relationship when they completely earn my trust. This is a massive, massive thing for me. And I said, okay, so you're a 4 and I'm a 7. So it's 11, kind of there. Funnily enough, we done the 100 questions on OkCupid together because I said I'm on OkCupid and I've answered the 100 questions. So do you mind creating a profile just to answer the 100 questions? 99% match. 100 questions, 1 question. Which would you
Yeah.
prefer to do?
Yeah. Something else also about these compatibility questions that makes me wonder if they're taking into account just having the same answer or that balance that the polarity creates. So another thing about this circus question methodology is that it takes into account the balance. It's not about
Yeah.
finding your same person. And I
Yeah.
think that there are some misleading compatibility questions and surveys and things that will have you believe that you need to find the person that's the same version of yourself. And it just doesn't work that way. We need to have the counterpart, the yin to our yang, the masculine to our feminine, and regardless of gender, because I think that the masculine feminine dynamic can be so misinterpreted and confusing and misunderstood these days because people are kind of anti-gender roles and putting people in a box. And it's really not about gender. It's about
Yeah.
who's giving, who's pushing, who's receiving, who's...
You're right.
It's interesting. I just had a conversation with a trans woman who was so excited to, a couple years ago, go through the surgery and really become a woman physically. And as we were talking about dating, she's thinking, I might be attracted to women. Like, I don't know, maybe I need a man, maybe I need a woman. And we had this whole conversation about, you are feminine, you love being feminine, you want to be feminine, and you want a masculine partner. It doesn't matter if it's a masculine woman that you connect with and is your partner, or a masculine guy. And
Yeah.
it was like this light bulb went off that she just hadn't been thinking about it in that way.
The term's pansexual, isn't it?
And not everyone will fall into that category, but it's just helpful to understand the masculine feminine dynamic, and that we need someone who is kind of on the other side of that spectrum.
Yeah, you need what you're missing. In
Yeah.
essence, you need what you're missing, because the ideal balance is masculine and feminine in unison. Yeah, let's go the primal man and the primal woman, right? So that 100% there and 100% there, or 50% here and 50% needs to become. People hate saying this, but we're not codependent. It's not completing the whole. But what they've got, you haven't got, and you need it
Yeah.
to complement you. Now, when you're half of that, in other words, like you're in the middle, 4.5 in your case, 4.5, you're not at one extreme, but you don't want someone at the other extreme. You need someone that meets you in the middle, because being ringmaster, I'm very able to be in my masculine lion tamer end when I'm out watching soccer or football or doing physical skills with the guys. Yeah. But I'm also able to talk parenting, flower arranging, art,
Yeah.
the interior design, obviously from an architectural background. I'm able to discuss that with the ladies, and curtains and fabrics and stuff, without feeling effeminate, because I'm able. Am I the new age man? No, I'm just me. That's all I am. I'm not trying to be. I'm not the square peg going into round hole trying to be emasculated. I'm
Yeah.
not doing the dishes because my wife has told me to. It's because I feel comfortable doing that. If you are the 9 lion tamer and you don't feel comfortable in that, you shouldn't be doing it. Simple as that. But you shouldn't be abusing your wife for making you do
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
she needs to be the person that actually says, honey, fine, you go look after the car, you put up the shelves, you make the furniture, you do the masculine stuff, and I'll take care of the kids and do the dishes. That works.
I
If
mean,
that
it's
works for
it's
you.
hard today because now we've got, if everyone's working and everyone's doing...
When we talk about the masculine feminine essence and the power dynamic, it does relate back to if you're a career orientated woman, you will normally pick not from the bottom, you'd pick from the middle going upwards, because you're having to be career masculine orientated
Well,
in
the
order to
problem is
do.
we all have to be, not many of us have the privilege of not being career minded anymore.
That's why society has evolved from the stereotypical man and woman, where she's in the cave and he's out gathering and hunting, and she just brings the kids up and looks after the home. We've evolved from that. That's why that middle ground of balance, which in the 80s became the emancipation of the masculine male, became the problem, because the society was trying to emasculate the masculine man. He became confused, rebelled. And that's why we've got these issues now where you've got, what's his name, Andrew Tate, spouting that we need to be like this and be like that. And he's got so many followers. And the reality is he's right to some extent, but only to some extent.
Yeah.
And most of the people shouldn't even listen to what he says because it's abusive. He's a misogynist. At the end of the day, a lion tamer is not a misogynist. A lion tamer is just a man completely in his masculine, can't tap into his feminine, and needs a woman that can't tap into her masculine, who just wants to be feminine and loves being feminine. And that's all you need.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love this whole conversation. The Circus Question is the app. You can download it in the Play Store and Apple, right?
No, not at the moment. We're beta testing, so it is on the Passion.io website. So it is the circus question passion.io.
All right. It will be in the notes for sure, in the description. So quick shout out to passion.io, which is the platform that both of us have built our apps on, the Circus Question and Love Coach in My Pocket, which is available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Passion.io does what Wix or WordPress does for a website, where you can create your own website without having to know how to code. That's what Passion.io does for creating your own app, so that people like us that have a great idea and something that we want to engage with people around and educate and coach and create community, that we are able to do that. So I'll put a link in case there's anyone listening that wants to build their own app. I'll put a little link to Passion.io as well. Also, so one of the foundations of the work that I do is embodiment and somatic therapy. And so this is really hard to teach in a book. It's an experience, it's, guided visualization, it's videos, movement. And so I love the app because I can alternate between, let me educate you on this and explain these things, and then let's do an embodied practice to really help it sink in. We don't really learn something until we embody it, until we have the experience of it.
I want to see this, because I want to learn apps or whatever you're using, whatever system you're using. Look at yourself first, reset yourself, and start again. New pictures, new outfits, new mentality. Leave the X in the past. If the past is, if the X is still there, I mean, these people that say how to win your X back, Jesus, man. They're an X for a reason.
It's like one of the most searched terms. I mean, that's what people want to know. How do I get my X back? Yeah.
How are you going to get them back? You know what? You're never going to move forward until you resolve why you broke up. And one thing, nice thing about the app, they ask the ex-partner the Circus Question, and they can see in black and white why they weren't compatible. And they can let it go, because it helps them. If I buy a new phone tomorrow, I'm not going to buy the previous model to the iPhone I've got. I'm going to buy an upgrade. So I see relationships like that. Look at it as an upgrade.
This or something better. Something better.
If you become better in yourself, which is where dating coaches help you, by the way, figure out who you really are and what you really need. Yeah. Once you've tapped into that, you become more attractive to the person that you should be dating. And equally, it's important to recognize someone. And you will only recognize who's ideal for you if you are looking for them in the first place. In other words, if you're having casual relationships with F-boys, I'll use the term, I won't curse. If you're dating the kind of bad guys, but it's only casual, they're F-buddies. But I want a real gentleman as my husband, that will never work. Look, you can date guys that are lovely and charming and whatever, right? But they aren't necessarily ideal for you, compatibility-wise. They might be slightly off the scale, right?
This has been awesome. I love this conversation. We might have to pick up and continue do more at some point, or lead a workshop together.
Yeah, that'd be great, man.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Also include your Linktree pod link so that people can connect with you.
Thank you. And the app is on special offer at the moment. So it's an introductory special offer. So grab it while it's cheap. You need to go.
All right.
Been
Well,
a
we'll
pleasure.
continue this conversation. Thank you.